Which high school friend took a path you didn't expect?
Girl in my high school was a terrible human being. Selfish and totally self-absorbed. I couldn't stand her. One of the shallowest, nastiest people I knew. 20 years later she sacrifices her life trying to help save 3 children. Unknown to her. From drowning in a rip current at a local beach.
Did the kids make it?
My best friend since I was 5 years old. Smartest person I ever knew. She went off to college and got into heroin. She is now serving a life sentence for first-degree murder.
She was the mastermind and the getaway driver of a burglary gone wrong. Her accomplices broke into the guy's home they were acquainted with, tied him up and beat the shit out of him. He died of a heart attack sometime during the ransacking of his home or directly thereafter.
The quiet, kinda nerdy guy in the back of my AP Calculus class is now the CEO of Playboy Thailand.
I kinda wonder what he was doing in the back of your AP Calc class to become the CEO of Playboy Thailand.
Low achiever. Used to goof off in class all the time. Bit of a class clown. Used to tell everyone that her goal was to be a trophy wife so she could watch TV all day. Has shown her designs at Paris Fashion Week and has dressed several celebrities. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I was flicking through a copy of Vogue Australia on my lunch break and there was a 4-page article on her in there. I was so happy. She always had a heart of gold and I feel like her teen self was a reflection of what her family thought for her. She deserved to be much more than someone's wife.
That's awesome.
Cheerleader who took a heck of a turn. She was an impressive drinker in high school. She kept it up through college. Got a job. Didn't love it. She joined AA. Met a guy. Older. Had nice finances. Estranged from his ex-wife. Kids. No other family. They got married. A few months later, they're both drinking again. Within 2 years, he's dead. He left her everything. She is devastated. She goes back to AA. Met another guy. Apparently older men who are estranged from their families are super easy to find in AA. You got it. They're drinking. Next thing you know, he's dead. Left her everything. Now she's gone back to AA again. She has met the most wonderful man. It's a shame his kids won't speak to him and won't come to the wedding. It's next month.
How long you give him before he dies?
Devastated. This, kids, is a proper and powerful use of quotation marks.
I had a friend in high school who was high-achieving academically. He was in the top classes. Very nervous and well-behaved in the classroom. Generally he was mostly thought of as quiet and the guy very few people paid any attention to. He is serving 8 years in prison for possession of drugs and child pornography.
Holy shit.
Average guy at school. Dead through alcoholism by his mid-20s. It was apparently asphyxiation that got him.
The odds and suicides are always more surprising than the success stories. It really is crazy how people who seem so normal can privately go so very far off the rails.
I had a crush on a girl that was a real sweet, quiet girl. Not long ago saw her picture on the news for boosting cars. She was not so cute anymore.
When I was 10 I sat next to the sweetest boy in our class. All the other boys I had sat next to in junior school were mild asshats. I remember I lent him my Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory VHS and he lent me the Muppet Steak Manhattan. We went to different high schools when we were 12. I heard that at 16 he had been arrested for armed robbery. I still can't believe it. What the hell happened to that kind and gentle boy between 12 and 16?
Life. Sweet kids can get caught up and forced to do shit by the wrong crowd quite easily.
Had a friend that was the weirdest guy I'd met. He'd often yell random stuff for no reason. Do every kind of accent. And was just generally awkward around people. Saw him a few years after and he was dressed to the nines. Very clean cut. And socially well adjusted. Complete 180 from high school. Made me rethink all my life's choices up until that point. Since I was not doing so hot in life. Edit. I'm loving all the people wondering if I'm talking about them. Or someone they know.
I can't tell you how this transition can happen, as I was sort of that kid. More of a computer nerd, but I wore t-shirts with witty, stupid, sayings on them or computer company logos. Did this all through college, wondering why few girls were interested in me. Graduated. Got a job. Moved away. Decided I'd distinguish myself a bit by being the guy who wore Hawaiian shirts all the time. Started learning some manners and social graces. Decided Hawaiian all the time was overkill. Started wearing short-sleeve button-downs with funky patterns. Met my future wife. Started dating. Going on dates, decided short-sleeve shirts were too informal. Drifted toward long-sleeve. Over time we got involved with Art Deco groups and vintage clothing. She really got into it. I have to keep up if we're going out. Started wearing nice jackets and eventually full suits. Now my closet is full of vintage suits, and I've started drifting back to more interesting but stylish jackets if I'm not wearing suits. My 18-year-old self would have no idea what to think of this.
Not a friend. But I went to middle and high school with a girl who went into acting. Became a Power Ranger.
That's pretty awesome.
High school meth dealer and local lunchroom pot/cigarette vendor ended up being roommates senior year. 2 months after graduation they both joined the Las Vegas PD.
Switch team YRN? Why?
A friend of mine is a talented artist with a deep passion for video game design. He worked on projects for indie devs all through high school. And I thought it was certain he would quickly become an artist for some dev studio soon after. He now works as a furniture salesman.
I wanted to work on games since high school. And tons of folks were convinced I'd be working in gaming. After hearing the horror stories about the game industry, lack of job security and constant layoffs, I'm happy as a retail stock person while I try to just do game dev on the side. I've also come to the realization that I'm the kind of person that if I turn a hobby into a job it'll kill my passion for it.
There was this guy who bullied me and destroyed my self-esteem on a regular basis. He became a really successful vegan chef. Has his own restaurant. Cookbooks. Has been on talk shows to cook/promote his stuff.
Fuck him, bro.
A lot of them. I don't know if there was something in the water in our town. A lovely girl in my class had severe anorexia. To the extent she had to repeat the year. She was strikingly pretty. With the face of an angel. Always wondered if she felt self-conscious and grew obsessed about her looks because it was what people valued. Nobody made the same fuss about her good grades or niceness. She is now morbidly obese. Couch surfing and pretty much always wears the same big brown coat and tracksuit pants. Was shocked to see her go from one extreme to the other. Still really nice. Hope it works out for her. Another high achiever in our class is now a traveling musician and nudist. She dropped out of engineering and just travels from festival to festival as a concert goer. Dressed as a barefoot rainbow fairy. Self-funds by offering tarot readings. Spells. Palmistry. Lived by the creek for a while. Has a Pomeranian.
She dropped out of engineering and just travels from festival to festival as a concert goer. Dressed as a barefoot rainbow fairy. Self-funds by offering tarot readings. Spells. Palmistry. Lived by the creek for a while. Has a Pomeranian. Pretty sure she just figured out the cheat code to life and is now living the dream while the rest of us are still grinding away like chumps.
Probably the smartest guy in class but never actually paid attention or did his homework. Was always sleeping in class or doing his own thing or goofing off. Recently sold his startup for 8 figures and is now back to goofing off.
Hey Redditor. If you think you're this guy, chances are you're not. Pay attention in class.
Damn. Good for him.
There were 2 that really stand out. One of them was a girl who got in a fair amount of trouble. She skipped school. Had a bad attitude and was more interested in hanging out with friends than learning. She ended up becoming a lawyer and eventually became the assistant DA of a city with about 3 million people. The other was a nice guy. Got along with most everyone. I even considered him a friend and hung out with him on occasion. He came from a great family, and while he didn't get the best grades, he was good at things like fixing cars, so I assumed he would end up going into that field. Instead, he started a career in drinking. By the time he was 30, he had been in jail several times, in a rehab a couple of times, had been arrested numerous times, had 2 restraining orders on him from former girlfriends, and had burned so many bridges with his family they had given up on him. Now in his mid-40s, he still lives in that same town. He looks like he is in his 60s, is on disability, and likely doesn't have much of a future as he continues to drink himself away.
Booze is a hell of a drug.
Elizabeth, the badass party chick. She was the brilliant and quietly rebellious type. She was pulling and getting away with shit that most of the guys branded as troublemakers in school could only dream of. Because she had the sense and savvy to not show off to the world. She wasn't doing shit for the attention. She was just doing it because that's what she wanted to do. So smoking, heavy drinking, some drugs, staying out all night, whatever. She could outdo anyone else. Anyway, a little over 10 years later I caught up with her and found out she was a triathlete and overall health nut.
I know this person.